I'm Darrell Pilot. I am a member of Frank Harvey's Post 1263, Renton, Washington, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States. I was born in 1949 in Longview, Washington, and after completing high school in 1967, I took a correspondence course and went to work for Trans World Airlines in Chicago. And of course, all of us at the time were concerned about the draft and our draft status, and whether we should go to war, go to college, and avoid the draft. I ended up getting drafted, served in the military from '69 to '71. After 4 months of basic training and advanced infantry training, I was given a 30-day leave, shipped off to Vietnam. Every time I turned around, I thought things would get better, and they seemed to get worse. For about 6 months, I was assigned to a tank. So for the most part, on a 54-ton tank, there was concern about running over mines and blowing up the tank. But generally, the enemy would hear us coming and get out of the way. So with the exception of 4 or 5 times where they had the edge on us, sort of a surprise attack, I considered that good duty. The last 5 or 6 months, I was climbing up through the mountains with an 80-pound rucksack on my back, and found out that that was a different type of war, actual jungle fighting and that type of activity. So I was kind of exposed to two different wars. I didn't have any experience where anyone was like throwing eggs at me or any hatred at all. I heard horror stories from other veterans. Well, I think because of our experience as Vietnam veterans, I think we lived through what we did, and we've struggled in a lot of areas. We've had to go out to this country and say, hey, there is a thing called PTSD. There is a thing called Agent Orange. We have problems. We're not just, crazy. We're not baby killers. We've got issues that can be attributed to this war. And it's taken, for me, over 40 years, and you're still seeing the government just attributed 3 new diseases to Agent Orange exposure. So it's taken a lot of years for the government to step up and say, hey, maybe there's something to this. And I think it sort of set the groundwork for any veterans that served in any following wars to have their concerns addressed in a more timely manner. Certainly the Gulf War syndrome and other issues, like right now there's traumatic brain injury and other issues that are specific to Afghanistan and Iraq. It's been because of our work and what we went through that I think it's going to be, the issues will be addressed, and I think their concerns are going to be heard a lot quicker than it was for the Vietnam veterans. I've got a copy of the VFW magazine, and it struck me, there's a quote on the front about what I truly believe a veteran is. Abraham Lincoln said, I like to see a man proud of the place in which he lives. I like to see a man live so that his place will be proud of him. And this is the continued community service that you see so many of us veterans do. We've got a little over 80,000 veterans, servicemen and women that went off to war that haven't been accounted for. We can't forget that sacrifice. We have to remember that every year. So that's what we do. We continue these programs. We increase awareness. We can't let the general public only think about veterans when they see one in the paper that has been killed. Wyatt Goldsmith the other day, 28 years old, from Colville, Washington, was just killed this last weekend in Afghanistan. He was back on his 3rd tour of duty. He already had been awarded a Purple Heart for being wounded once already. 28 years old and his life is over. How can any of us sit here now and say that we're not going to pay $18 a year for a veterans levy? This isn't a new tax. This is an extension of a tax that has been in place since '05. How can we say we can't afford $18 a year to help the veterans and their families when we see servicemen like this, 28 years old, sacrifice their life so we can come and go and enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy each day? I mean, it's just unheard of.